Hey, everybody, welcome to this month's webinar. My name is Clark Holt, and I'm a wealth advisor with Elevate Wealth Advisory. If you're new to us, we're a full service wealth advisory firm in Athens, Georgia. So, also want to mention, please check out our YouTube channel where you can view our archive of past monthly webinars and educational videos, which we think you'll find insightful. Our firm was founded more than 40 years ago by Chuck Vickery as Vickery Financial Services. Since that time, our team has grown to 10 people. We've rebranded to Elevate Wealth Advisory, and we're led by our current president and CEO, Deanne Rosso. Today, we're talking about estate planning, and with us is our in-house advanced planning coordinator, Dee Dee Bloom. Dee Dee joined the team at Elevate in 2015. She came to us with 10 years of prior experience in the financial services industry. Dee Dee relocated to Athens from Northern Illinois in the summer of 2015. She resides in Bogart with her husband, Terry, and their 3 children. She spends a lot of time attending athletic events at North Oconee High School and will soon be attending Georgia State football games to watch her oldest son play football. We're glad to have Dee Dee speak with you today, so I'll go ahead and turn it over to her. Thanks, Dee Dee.
Thank you, Clark. Let me go ahead and share my screen. Okay, so today we're going to be talking about estate planning. While it's not a really exactly fun topic to discuss, it is critically important, and if not taken care of properly, it can be really devastating to your loved ones. You've worked hard your entire life to accumulate the assets that you have and that you've acquired, and you want to make sure that if something happens to you, that they pass to the appropriate heirs. So a recent Gallup poll showed that 55% of adults don't have a will. So you can see here one aspect of the problem that we face. Many people haven't really thought through how they want their estate and their money to be handled after they're gone, and they think they have forever. So what could go wrong, right? But things do go wrong. When I was 9 years old, growing up in Illinois, my parents decided to build on an addition to our garage. And my dad has always been kind of a do-it-yourself type. So he invited my grandparents and a few friends over to help us lay the foundation, the concrete. And I was in charge of bringing everybody cold drinks, ice water and lemonade for the workers and everything. And on one of my trips carrying the drinks out back, I realized that something had definitely gone very wrong. My dad was on hands and knees in the concrete, trying to resuscitate my grandpa, who had suffered a cardiac arrest. And my grandpa passed away that day. When things unexpected happen, it's totally exactly that, just totally unexpected. My grandpa was a very healthy person. He had exercised all the time. He was about 2 or 3 months away from retiring. And my grandma at that point in life was pretty much just a stay-at-home wife. Now, thankfully, there wasn't any confusion with their estate or legal documents or anything. They were fairly well laid out. But my grandma had to learn a whole new way of life. She had never paid the bills. She'd never dealt with insurances. She'd never dealt with Medicare or Social Security or anything like that. She'd never even pumped her own tank of gas. An unexpected and untimely death is tragic in and of itself. You definitely don't want to add to the trauma by having your documents and wishes unclear or not having them at all. So that's the worst case scenario, right? What else could go wrong? Well, some would say that worse than death is a sudden incapacity. Say, for example, you suffer a stroke, but rather than dying, you end up in a coma. In some ways, this is worse than dying unprepared because you have to go on living without being able to communicate to anyone. And if you don't have the proper documents in place, your wishes may not be honored because no one even knows what they are. Hospitals are obligated to do whatever it takes, whatever's necessary to keep people alive, even if it involves ventilators or feeding tubes. And if this is not what you would want, you have to state those wishes now before something like that happens. If you want to appoint a loved one to make those medical decisions on your behalf, you have to set this up now while you're still of sound mind and body. And here's what else. Your money could be frozen if your accounts are not set up properly. Your bills could go unpaid if you don't have a power of attorney. No one else has the authority to transfer money in and out of your accounts or pay bills or do anything with your finances as long as you're incapacitated. So here's the problem. When people think of estate planning, they think of death planning and they just want to shut it out and not think about it. And I get it. It's really hard to think about how people will go on after you pass. This is true both on a financial level, but also, and probably more importantly, on an emotional and spiritual level. That lifetime of experiences and your hard-earned wisdom and insight that makes up your values, they'll never get discussed and never get passed on to the next generation. And that really is the real loss for everyone. Now, you might be thinking, well, my family knows how I feel about them, and I don't have a huge estate. So what's the big deal? What are the consequences of not having an estate plan? Without an estate plan, the consequences are that your family may be subject to probate costs, creditors, legal fees, all of which compromise the value of your legacy. So some common estate problems that come up when no one thinks about estate planning are you could end up with no will or trust. You could have overlooked some of the provisions such as guardianship for your minors or special needs adults. There's no tax planning, which could be very expensive. And it could cause a financial strain on your loved ones, a cash shortage for your survivors, for example. And also sometimes decisions are not communicated to the next generation, like what you'd like to have happen. The details are not revealed until after death. And that could cause family tensions to arise after the will is read. It's not a great picture, right? Sorry, didn't get the screen right. Which is why at Elevate, we really try to impress on our clients the importance and benefits of taking the time to think it all through and have your documents in order. The benefits are very real. It spells out your healthcare wishes. You can appoint a medical advocate. Your possessions and assets go to who you choose them to go to without any dispute or disagreement. It avoids any additional legal expenses, and it provides for your loved ones. But as much as estate planning benefits you and your loved ones, it often doesn't capture the fullness of our lives and our values. So what's missing are the intangible assets. Those are the fruits of a well life lived, the good stuff. Two types of intangible assets that are missing from a traditional estate plan are character assets, which are your values, health, spirituality, your heritage, your life experiences, and your intellectual assets, your business systems, your ideas, traditions, reputation. So you're probably thinking, well, I want to pass all of that along to my loved ones. Is there a way to do that? Yes. It's called generational planning, and it recognizes that we're all so much more than just our physical assets that are accounted for in our estate plan. This is Randy Pausch. I'm sure some of you probably recognize him. He was a professor at Carnegie Mellon University in Pittsburgh, and he was asked to give what they called a last lecture to his students. And it was a series that the university did, having all the professors imagine what they would talk about in their final lesson to their students. His lecture was unique because he had recently been diagnosed with pancreatic cancer, so it was all the more compelling. And in his last lecture, he tried to answer this question. What wisdom would you impart to the world if you knew it was your last chance? It was really an incredible talk, and it has gone viral on YouTube, and he's written a book called The Last Lecture. He was on Oprah, he was on several different channels on TV, and it was really all over the place. And I really recommend that you watch it, actually. But what a great question to ask yourself. What wisdom would you impart to the world if you knew it was your last chance? Well, that's what we try to accomplish with generational planning. Here's our definition of generational planning. It's a modern, intentional two-phase process that expands estate planning's reach and helps you plan your legacy. So there are two objectives with the state or with generational planning. First is legacy planning, and that's the process of passing along the tangible wealth and assets included in a traditional estate plan. Secondly, you want to convey your family's values and history, your legacy, to the next generation. Both are done really for the benefit of the next generation. So in thinking about the people that are closest to you, here are some thoughts to consider for a successful legacy plan for the generations. First, consider your spouse if you're married. If you were to die first, you need to ensure that there is sufficient income for the rest of your spouse's life through either insurance or just having enough assets to draw from. You also want to make sure that whichever of you goes first, the surviving spouse will be able to manage the finances alone. In a successful legacy plan, a married couple, while they're both alive, plan ahead and make sure that either spouse can carry on and manage the finances, regardless of which one goes first. Second, when considering your children, they need to be prepared for their inheritance. You want them to have an understanding of the basic values upon which the inheritance was built, which is to preserve and grow your family's wealth. Then there are the practical matters of how to specifically invest the money and how to withdraw it without incurring excessive taxes or fees. As for the grandchildren, you want them to understand how you lived and what you lived for. Seize the opportunity now to start sharing your family stories and conveying some of those memories and values you grew up with. And finally, think about all the people you've touched and who have touched you. Think about the causes you care about and the organizations that are doing good work in the world and that you're probably contributing to now. Maybe you'd like to leave something to them. Preparedness is the antidote for fear. This is a common quote that applies to many areas of life. Some people fear death because they worry about what will happen to their loved ones after they're gone. Your family will miss you, of course, but with a solid estate plan in place, at least they won't have to wonder what you would have wanted and can help make sure your wishes are carried out. Taking the time and trouble to get your affairs in order is one of the most loving things you can do while you're still on this earth. Legacy planning isn't hard. You just have to get started. And we're here to help in any way we can. Clark, I'll turn it over to you.
Thanks for that, Dee Dee. So we have a few questions that I'll go through real quick, and I'll share with you, Dee Dee, and let you respond.
Okay.
First question, if I have a will, but it's been a while since I've reviewed it, what should I look at to see if it needs to be revised or amended?
Well, we can sit down with you. First of all, we can kind of review it with you and kind of go through some questions with you. But we do have also a checklist that we can send to you that just kind of triggers some thoughts on any changes that may have come up that you haven't thought about, maybe amending something or new additions to the family that maybe you haven't really updated since then. So we do have a checklist we can send to you if you want one, or you can just make an appointment, come in and sit down and we'll talk it through.
Okay, great, thanks. Second question, you talked about passing on your values and other intangible assets, but how do you do that?
Well, we have a software system that we recommend for people that is like a digital vault, so to speak, where you can upload documents, pictures, videos, family recipes, things like that that you can pass on. That it's like a storage place for all of those types of things that are intangible, so to speak. So
we just want to wrap up by saying we appreciate you joining us today. If you have additional questions or comments, you can email us at marketing@elevate-wealth.com. That's marketing@elevate-wealth.com. Also, don't forget to visit our YouTube channel so you can view our collection of educational webinars and videos. And again, we just want to thank everybody for joining us and have a great summer.
Thank you.